What is going on? Welcome back to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. I'm sitting down with black belt David Fox. David, what is up, man? How's your day going?
It's going pretty good, dude. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, thanks for coming. I know you got a lot on your plate. We were just talking before the episode about the academies that you own, the summer programs you're doing. And one of the things that really has stood out for me, man, about like following you on social media is the work that you do helping men improve their relationships. And you really kind of factor jujitsu into that a lot. And I've noticed that just following you. So I just like to kind of start there, man. Like, how has jujitsu helped you in your relationship specifically?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a crucial thing. Like, yeah, I mean, and I routinely talk about how my confidence has skyrocketed. My tolerance for risk has gone up. And because if you fast forward any decision, like whether it's negotiation or you fast forward it to, it's usually not like a life harming decision. And jujitsu, like you're literally defending a human from choking you. So like that risk tolerance becomes quite a bit higher. And then just even the work ethic that follows. Like I'm not afraid to chase not afraid to chase something just because it's hard or it's going to take a long time. I mean, like you sign up for jiu-jitsu, it's you realize it's not a 6 month or 4 year gig. It's a big deal.
Yeah, man. And it kind of like puts you through this crucible almost. It like sharpens you or so. Like, what was that experience like for you? Can you tell us a bit about like when you first started training and kind of compare that against who are you today?
Yeah, so when I first I think like most people, when I first started training jiu-jitsu, it was just you don't even know. You're kind of in like a fight club and you go and you lose. Um and you don't even know how you lost. Like you don't even know how you lost. You just lost and you continue to lose for a while. And then you have some small victories. Maybe you catch some new guy and it really puts things in perspective, right? You have the mental toughness it takes to keep going in something like that. And then of course, as that directly relates to people's marriages, to people's jobs, to people, if you want to start a business, like if you haven't been a business owner and been like, man, this, I want to quit. I would question that you're doing anything of real importance. Same with your marriage. If you haven't had times to really just like, was this even worth? Was this really worth it? Because it's gonna be work, and I think that the work that the character that's built on the mat, it's so universal.
Yeah, man, it's everything. Like it it creates almost this sort of athanor, this sort of fire, this like furnace that you can go to every day to work on your thing, and it's almost like this tool that we have to improve ourselves from a spiritual or mental perspective. So I'd just like to get into that, man. Like, how has it helped your mental health since you started training?
Yeah, so it's that's a good question. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I didn't struggle with depression or anything like that. I would say my where it did is it sharpened my focus. It sharpened my focus. So it's not like I went from like being miserable and depressed to like being happy. It was more like I went from I would say directionless, right? Down like I don't know, to now it's like you just I'm okay to kind of sit and dwell and like meditate on something and really say, okay, like this is what I want to do. Like when I'm one of the few people, as I'm sure as you know, like I joined jiu-jitsu and I was like, I'm gonna earn my black belt. Like that's the first goal for me was black belt. And a lot of people they do it backwards, right? They're like, I want to earn my blue, whatever. It's not necessarily wrong, but like that the job wasn't even done till I earned my blue or till I earned my black. So that focus of here's my 10-year goal, my 15-year goal, and I'm gonna buckle up. And I understand the roadmap as I see it now may not be the roadmap as I see it later, but like this is what we're doing.
Man, that's amazing. And it sounds like you've gone through this journey of entrepreneurship, of jiu-jitsu. Like these things have almost seemed to hold hands for you in some ways. Like, can you walk us through that? Like, how did you decide to open up Metro Jiu-Jitsu, and what has that journey been like for you? Kind of transitioning into more of the teacher, more of the coach, the academy owner. Like, what has that been like, man?
Yeah, so that's a good question. We opened up in 18. So I started training in 2009 and we opened up in 2018 and started construction. And we really got like our first year under our belt, like December of 2020 or January of 2020. And then in March of 2020, they shut everything down. They locked everything down. And like, that was the real, I think that was just like, I felt like all of my jiu-jitsu training had prepared me for that moment, right? Because now you're like dealing with an entire ecosystem of people they're afraid for their life. And now they're like, they've got to come face to face with health decisions, right? Like that shit that you're eating and putting in your body. Oh, like you mean like now I need to care about that, right? Like my physical, like I'm at higher risk if I'm 100 pounds overweight. Yeah, you are. And like, I'm not even going to get to the politics of that, but like, it's like people, and then to have your livelihood and something we care so passionately about, labeled as, what was the term? We have the rash guards made. It's, unessential, not essential, right? Like it's not essential. So you could say it's not essential, but like we've had people come out of recovery, not come out, like they came out of addiction, alcohol. They've overcome alcohol. They've like used it to like I've had wives of people who train say it's made them a better husband, and so I felt like that was the fight. That was the fight to do whatever it takes for some of those were 20-hour days, man. Like just trying to find a way to even run, because I went all in. I went all in. I had quit my job in November and they locked us down in March. Like I went all in, so I felt like it prepared you for that. And I wasn't scared of it. I wasn't scared to back down. We were one of the more vocal forward academy owners in the area doing what we were doing.
Dude, that's epic. So can you walk us through that time a little bit more, just to kind of linger on that for a little bit longer? Like, what did you do exactly? And how, like, what sort of pivots did you have to make? Like, can you walk us through some of that?
Yeah. So we were talking about it before the show. Like we, in Michigan, one of the more locked down states is, they locked you down, but they had like, you could get exemption and it was cool as we had the cops, like cops were like sending me links that trained with us. They're like, hey, look into this loophole. Hey, look into this loophole. And at that point, the cops in the areas, they're like, I'm not responding to another fat mass call. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, don't call me. We had cops come in while we were training one time. And I was like, what's up? Y'all here to train or am I in trouble? And he was just like, dude, I got a mom in the parking lot. She wants to know why you guys we have glass windows. Like, so it's not like she wants to know why you guys can train and her son can't play hockey. I was like, well, it sounds like her son's hockey coach needs to grow up here and just start training. Like that's what it sounds like to me. And but so they had exemptions, and we opened up a summer camp. So we got licensed as a what was the special license? It was like temporary disaster relief childcare center or something like that. And so we got licensed under that, and we were able to run everything. And like we applied for it. The state came out. They're like, you're good. Gave it to us in 2 weeks. And that ran us through the rest of the year. Because, there's some people like, I don't even know. Like some people, they stayed locked down forever. And we didn't do that.
Dude, that's epic, man. It's freaking epic.
It's wild. I can't wait to tell my kids the story. I don't dwell on it because it's kind of like it's still like a negative thing, right? But I look back at it and I'm like, that's just, I can't believe, like you want to talk about that was, I will say this show's about mental health. That was my mental low because I couldn't really train. There was like 10 weeks where we just didn't train. We were kind of like, we got a couple matches in with some guys, like we trained, me and my partner Muhammad, but that was my mental low. That was the longest break I had taken in jiu-jitsu training in a decade. And it was made so, like, I got to see firsthand, like, yeah, I was not okay. I walked around angry. I walked around pissed off at everyone. And I walked around wanting to fight someone. And you know how it is, like, after training, you're like, whatever, dude, like, just take what you, like, whatever. Take the parking spot, cut in front of me. I don't care. I'm looking for some food.
Yeah, man, that's a common theme that's been coming up on this podcast a lot lately, is kind of what everyone experienced during that lockdown time. I think that it really goes to show that if something like that were to ever try to be done again, like we would all have to really take a stand against it because it's just not good, man. Like that's the kind of stuff that we really need to protect ourselves against, that kind of oversight from the government. Like when they tried to do that at our academy, and my instructor ended up suing the city and he won. And man, I try to tell stories like that and stories like yours all the time. Like I'm really glad to have you here, man, because I feel like people need to hear that story of how people got creative and they fought back. They didn't just lie down, because that was the whole thing, man. People just freaking laid down. We're like, oh, you want us to shut down? Okay, cool. Like I'll let you just run my business.
And it's cool, right? Like it's easy for you to say, "Stay home, save lives." That was my favorite sticker. Stay home, save lives. It's easy for your ass to stay home, save lives when you're still collecting a paycheck, right? Like we had half our member base cancel on us. Like we had the other half. We had a crew, a salad crew, and they were like, "Listen, dude, like just keep charging me. Just keep I know you guys like you'll figure it out. Just try, just keep it running." And we had them like special gear made. Like we got rash guards with the respirators. It's like ride or die. Not as like we took care of them, and that's just, it really shows, right? Like I think the whole, boy, I know you're keeping under, like I could talk for hours about, I think, here's what I will say about the mental health aspect of it, is I think that entire time period just shows just how mentally weak people are. And just what price they are willing to pay for their comfort and for their perceived safety. And I'm not, it's you're giving up so many freedoms for perceived safety when tomorrow's not promised for any of us. Any one of us could die tomorrow. And there's nothing you could like say or do to make me believe that you have any control over that. You just die in your sleep, right? So knowing that, it's like, why would you live the life that you want to live, the career you want to career, the activities you want to do, with the people you want to be around right now? Don't put it off. That's like that I think that really showcased just like people, how fearful people could be and how quickly over not much.
Yeah, and how they'll just lay down and take whatever daddy government tells them to, and just says like, oh, the government said this? Oh, all right, cool. Like, no, it's not how our country was set up. Our country was set up to be like the antithesis of that. I think people forget, and governments forget that they work for the people, and yeah, we're seeing kind of a revival. We're seeing more of a resurgence in this, and of people kind of saying like, hey, like we can't let anything like that happen again, because man, like it just goes to show what people can freaking, like you said, like what people will let happen if but here's the thing, man, like if people push back, like if there is a little pushback, then the fearful will stay fearful, if that makes sense. And they ultimately do yield, because they know that like if you go through the protocol, and if you do find those little loopholes in the law, like what you're talking about, and you do it the right way, you go about it properly, like you will win. You just have to, you just have to do that. You just have to go through that process.
We had one guy in our state, pretty much. I think he actually, he went on YouTube. He went live, and he just pretty much said, I think he went live and tagged like every news station. I was like, hey, we're running classes, and there's not, you're going to have to come arrest me and my entire team. And I messaged him. I was like, that's mad respect for you, dude, because again, it's, you're willing to back it up, right? You're willing to back it up. And he went live, and the state did nothing. The state police showed up, but they didn't. Like, what are you going to do? Arrest this guy? You're going to arrest him for holding jiu-jitsu classes or cage fighting class? Like, it was, they ultimately, they ultimately had no power over it. And that's where it landed, right? That's where it landed. So the state here in Michigan, they tried to use like the health department. Guys, so like they had no teeth. It had no real teeth to enforce it for people who stood up.
Yeah, man. That's the story, is that like when you don't back down, and when you stay and you go through the proper protocols, and you treat people with respect, and you do things the right way, like there is a way. You just have to find it. I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. And that's what I'm hearing from you, man. Like you went through the system and you did it properly, and you just didn't back down, if that makes sense. Like, you didn't just take no for an answer. You didn't just say like, hey, we're going to close. Okay. Like, you were like, no, fuck that. We're going to figure something.
See, what's the option? What option do you have? Like honestly, what option do you have? Just, I'm going to sit there and like there really was no option, right? Like, to me, I felt like it was the equivalent of every day you went out to hunt. Like, my son was like 4 months old or something. You know, like, I had like a baby and a daughter. Like, I've got a third kid now. Like, there was no other option. And so there was no other option. I didn't have government feeding me. I didn't have, it was you eat what you kill as an entrepreneur. You eat what you kill.
Yeah. And there's a lot of beauty to that. And there's a lot of struggle to that, you know, but it's just like jiu-jitsu. There's so many parallels between entrepreneurship and jiu-jitsu, man. And I'd really love to kind of segue into that a little bit. Like, can you just talk about that? Like, what do you feel like are kind of the similarities that jiu-jitsu and business have in common? And where do you feel like jiu-jitsu has helped you as an entrepreneur?
It's where, there is no finish line. I mean, there is no finish line. There's always, you know, there's more to learn, right? Like, one of my teammates, Alex Hody, when he got his black belt a couple of years before me, he's like legit. And he was like, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I was like, you're black belt. You're like a good black belt. Like, I don't understand what that means. And I fully understand what he means now. So like, you know, like, as a black belt now, I'm like, dude, there's so much to learn. I feel like there's so much to learn. There's always so much to learn in entrepreneurship, especially in the age that we're in, the digital age with social media and from where it came, and then just there's so much more to it. And so you approach it with a student's mindset. And then you remember why you train. You know, we have a lot of people, you know, quit jiu-jitsu, and I believe it's because they never had a really good reason to begin with. You know, like, I went into business for myself and to open a business because I wanted to be able to enjoy going to work each day. You know, I know what it's like to feel like garbage on a Sunday night and know I'm going to be sick on a Monday and know I'm going to get some heat from my boss for being sick out of my own control and go in sick anyway, like really sick. I don't mean like I mean like really sick anyway, because I couldn't afford the $200 hit to my paycheck. Like, I know what that feels like, right? And I just don't, to me, that's not the play. That's not the long play when you're 50, 60, 70. I will say it's also impacted. I'm grateful for those years because it's impacted how I interact with our team as employers, right? So like, I'm not like, hey, Coach David, I'm sick. Yeah, no sweat. I hope you feel better. You know, I set it up like our culture, both, you know, for those who work for us and train under us, like that's a huge thing we put a lot of time and energy into, a lot. And it's made in those things, right? Like those years of struggle, you know, call it your blue belt years, right? Those years of struggle, you learn those lessons and how you don't want it to be, you know, if you eventually open a school or whatever.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. That's great. It's great that you have that perspective, you know, like, you're able to see that bigger picture. You're able to see both sides of it. You know what it's been like to be the person coming up, but now you're on that other side, you know, and you're able to kind of take care of those same people. It's beautiful, man.
For sure.
So I want to talk a little bit about the relationship coaching that you do. So could you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, what have been some of the big things that you've seen working with men, and especially with helping them kind of integrate jiu-jitsu and more of this martial arts lifestyle into their life?
Yeah, they have no vision. I mean, in short, men don't have vision. They really don't. They even if you're doing really well, because I specifically work with business owners, they tend to listen better. That's the way coaching works. If you don't listen, shit doesn't work. But like they just have no vision. Like, maybe you fell into, even you own a business, or, you know, like, you're doing really well in an industry, but it's not by choice. You know, there's plenty of, you know, in a different life, I was in the jewelry industry. We're just surrounded by super wealthy people, like buka millionaires, probably some billionaires in there, and the most miserable crew you've ever met. You know, most miserable crew you've ever met, and it's because they just had, it wasn't a life that they crafted. And so like that's the thing I say. I said, dude, what's your vision? What, my 10-year, 5-year goals? No, it's your vision. What's it actually like? What does it look like? And so we've got, with the Elite Husband program, which is what I work, we have what's called pillars, and it covers things like from your psyche, your mindset, your body, your protector, your provider, like this whole category of things that it's an arbitrary thing that I view kind of makes a complete man, right? Your promise, your planning, but it comes down, it springs forward off of this vision that you've got. And most, but they're living the life that someone else crafted for them. You go through high school, and you and I both know we look like contemporaries. Junior year in high school, who comes into your classroom?
What do you mean? I was home. I was
College
homeschooled, so I might not be.
Shit. Well, you're in junior year in high school, college reps come into your classroom and say, hey, unless you want to be like the janitor over there, you're going to need to choose a degree. And then so now like they're choosing your path. At 18 years old, you get to make a 6-figure decision on where you're going to spend college, right? And then from there, okay, college, all right, so now if you really want to use this degree to its fullest, you're going to go apply at these people. And then from there, your boss tells you, okay, well, if you really want to someday make it to this, what, and people, they're crafting your life for you. And then you're 45, and then then there's pressure because you got a good job. And well, now I feel ready to get married. Okay, now I'm gonna go find a girl. I guess I'm gonna get married to her, whatever, because that's what everyone else is doing. All the rest of my crew is getting married. Maybe you're 30 when you get married. That's the average age for men. And then you're 30, and now you give it a few years. Now you've got a kid. You're 35, and then fast forward that tape. All the big shit has happened. You're 40 years old. And you're halfway through a life that you didn't craft. And you feel like you've missed the boat because you're 40. And I said, start the shit over. Like, you hate your job? Make plans to change it. Well, I'll have to take a pay cut. How much is a miserable life worth to you? Do you really need an $800,000 house when you could get by with like $180,000 house? Like, do you really need that car? Do you really need the, and I think you just zoom out. And it takes a little bit of perspective. If you just Americans are so, Western society is so, we're the most wealthy and the most medicated society the earth has ever seen. And so you just live a life that you're not crafted. That's a major theme. That's like kind of the major theme of it. Amongst others, that's by far the major one.
Man, you said it. Like, I saw the same cycle when I was in the military. Like, I did ROTC in college, and there was some bullshit in ROTC, and they were always telling us like, hey, I know we got some, it's kind of crappy right now, but just wait till you get on active duty, and it's going to be great. It's going to be so much fun, so much better, or I don't know. You get what I'm saying? And then got on active duty, graduated ROTC, got to the officer training program, even more baloney going on there. And they were like, hey, just wait till you get to your first unit. Gonna be great. Like, you're gonna have a great experience, and I know there's some BS right now, but just wait. Got to the first unit, sucked, hated my job, terrible for year and a half, 2 years, but they were all telling me like, hey, just push through. First duty station's always rough, first unit's always rough, but just wait until you become a platoon leader, and then you're really just gonna understand like how great it is. Then I became a platoon leader, and I was having panic attacks every day. My whole life was falling apart. I was feeling miserable. Just wasn't what I was supposed to be doing. And my company commander was like, hey man, you just got to hang in there. And then once you become a commander, oh my gosh, the reward is going to be so much better. And then I've ended up like hanging out with a lieutenant colonel one day, and he was like so burnt out. And he was like, man, he's like, I'm just holding on because I know that once I make it to colonel, like, I'm going to be in charge of like 5,000 people. That's going to be so cool. And he was still bought into this thing. Like, oh man, I just got to keep climbing this ladder. Like, once I make it to colonel, then it'll be great. And you're right. Like, all these super successful people, cause I met some generals, they seem pretty miserable too. So I saw this cycle, and I was like, I don't think I'm ever not going to be miserable in the military. I think that's just a part of it. And I was having a chat with one of my buddies who was like a fellow lieutenant. We were like commiserating about our miseries. And he looked at me and he was like, I don't know what we expected. We joined the military. He's like, it's not supposed to be sunshine and roses. It's like, they told us it was gonna suck. You know what I mean? Like, you whatever that energy is, whatever you gave your power away to, like, that's gonna consume you. Like you said, you have to make your own vision, which is why I had to get out and become an entrepreneur so I could start my own life, and It's the same shit in the corporate jobs. I'm sure you see it, it's the same ladder. So, man, how do we get people out of it? Like, how do you help people transition from this state into like where they want to be, where they are living their ideal life?
I think you have to be honest with yourself. I really do. I think you have to be honest with yourself, and it takes some auditing of your circle, right? Because I know, again, going back to the jewelry industry, like everybody, like if you were making like 100,000 a year, you were like the bottom of the barrel, right? Like, so like that was just kind of the gist of it. Not to mention it was a completely reckless lifestyle. And picture the movie Uncut Gems. That was it. And so you have to be honest with you. Like, what is enough? I think if you start there, what is enough? And is enough, like, that's going to be different for everybody. But if you, let's say you're what is enough? Could I live on 45,000 a year? Yeah, probably, humbly, sure. But understand, like, you're not going to have 5 kids at that. So if you like, and there's just a lot of asking why. Said that I was at a business conference, and one of the coaches there, he's like, you get to the 7th layer of why, now you're getting somewhere. So what do you want to do for work? I don't know. I want to go work at Quicken Loans. Okay, why? Well, they pay good money. But so why do you want a job that pays good money? Well, so I can have good shit. Well, why do you want to have good shit? Oh, because it looks better. It looks better to who? Well, it looks better to my neighbors. Why does that matter? Well, it matters because I guess I care what people think. Why do you care what people think? I think if you boil it down, I was made fun of as a kid, and it really hurt my feelings. And it kind of, like, if they're being honest, right? Like this kind of like the shit go, oh, so now we're getting, it may take 8 or 9 wives. But so if you boil it down to the 7th one, it's like, dude, well, you're just looking to buy some shit so that people would like respect you. You could do it a lot cheaper than like getting nice cars and nice house. You could train jiu-jitsu, right? And have some self-respect and not give a damn what someone thinks about you, right? Like you can. And it's like, it's a much deeper layer than that. I think I would start with asking why. And then you ask why enough times in each field, right? Like your career, how much money you want to make, where do you want to live? I ask myself, one, why I live in Michigan. Like the winters here are just awful. So why do I live? My family, I don't know, they'll follow. Like, so like you go through. And ultimately it comes down to like, change is scary, dude. Change is really scary. And I think there's always that little voice in us that's like, if I leave my job, I'll be homeless and starving. That's not based in reality in America. It's not like, I can't, as an employer, I can't hire someone for less than $32,000 a year. And that's like, you're a warm body. At 32,000, it's just, you can't be hired. It can't be hired, right? At least in our market. And so like, that's the base right now. And it's not a reality. So the second you get out of your head, and anyone who says you shouldn't quit your job because it's a secure job is full of shit. We're in Detroit, the big 3, 2 of them have been bought out, right? So that secure job you had when you got laid off, like one day Dame's going to get a real job. Well, my job is real as yours, dog. But like, I choose if I want to, like how things play out. You're waiting on a call from a suit to see if you have a job next month. I don't know. Like it never made sense to me. And I understand it's not going to make sense to everybody. It's also not. I think there's going to come a time where they say enough's enough. They'll listen to podcasts like yours. They'll listen to the Rogan and Jocko and I mean, I do believe it's swinging the other way. There's a lot more revival of people being like, this, dude, like, this is not what life's about. And you just have to make the call and do not make a fear-based decision. Those are usually wrong.
That's it, man. Do not make a fear-based decision. I love that, man. David, I know we got to wrap this up. I know you've got academies to run, you've got people to coach, got a life to live. You have white belts to teach and submit. So can you tell us a little bit more about you? Like, where can people find you if they want to come train, or if they want to sign up for coaching with you, or just...
Yeah, for sure. So we're in Metro Jiu-Jitsu. You guys come check us out. We're in Southgate, metrojj.com. If you're in the area, just reference this podcast. You guys come in and train. You're free. I mean, we do drop-ins. Your visitors are cool. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, David James Fox. Metro Jiu-Jitsu is Metro BJJ. Just hit us up if you're interested in coaching. Just DM me and we'll start that convo. See where you're at, what you're doing. I really appreciate your time, Mr. Paul.
I appreciate you, David. Well, hey, if you're listening to this and you want to check out David and all the things he's working on, go click the links that are down below. And thanks so much for listening to Jiu-Jitsu Outlet. Thanks, David.
Thanks, dude. Take care.